Hello and welcome. Tonight, fresh hardship looms as Nigerians will now have to pay more for petrol, with the commodity now selling between 168 to 170 naira per litre. Tell CBN to unfreeze our accounts. That's the plea by 16 EndSARS protesters to the Federal High Court in Abuja as they allege violation of rights. Plans to cut down on excessive spending continue as Kwara State Governor moves to stop payment of pension to former governors and their deputies in the state. And U.S. President-elect Joe Biden's transition team demands daily access to security briefing from President Trump's administration. Plus, business, sports, and later international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari signs the Bank and Other Financial Institution Act 2020 into law to strengthen confidence in Nigeria's banking sector.
On sports news tonight, the Lone Stars of Sierra Leone stunned Nigeria in Benin City, coming from 4 goals down to force the Super Eagles to a draw in the AFCON qualifier.
Today, the Petroleum Product Marketing Company, PPMC, announced a new petrol pump price regime, which means Nigerians will now have to pay more for the commodity. The PPMC, which is a subsidiary of the NNPC, says the ex-coastal price comes with an upward review of PMS to 153 naira 17 kobo per litre from the initial 147 naira 67 kobo. As a result of this, marketers will be dispensing the product to motorists between 165 naira and 173 naira per litre. A memo from the manager marketing of the PPMC, Tijani Ali, to the executive director commercial of the PPMC reads in part, the EDC may please refer to the management directives in respect of the above subject, PPMC PMS prices for November 2020, as per the attached memo. In line with the above, we propose PPMC November 2020 actual prices for PMS with effect from 13th November 2020 as follows. PPMC ex-coastal price for PMS 130 naira per litre. PPMC ex-depot price with collection 155 naira 17 kobo per litre. It adds that this development is attributed to the rise in the prices of crude oil in the international markets, which is now about $43 per barrel. The federal government had in September declared a fully deregulated downstream oil sector, leaving prices to be determined by market forces, especially international oil prices. The NNPC, in another statement by its group public affairs manager, Kenya Bataru, advised marketers to make their purchases through the online Customer Express platform. Meanwhile, with the announcement of the new petrol pump price, Nigerians immediately became apprehensive of the perceived hardship the new price may portend. Our correspondents visit some fuel stations in Lagos, Abuja, Delta and Kaduna states, and surprisingly, the level of compliance to the change in prices seemed not to have taken effect immediately.
It's official. The new pump price of premium motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, may have come as a surprise. The price hike is the third in recent months, and although petrol stations are yet to take a cue and adjust their meters, motorists are apprehensive, especially as the nation is trying to recover from turbulent months of COVID-19 lockdown.
I heard about it this afternoon on radio, that it has been increased to, I think, 170 or so. Nobody will feel happy about all this. The increase was just sudden. I didn't know until when I was listening to the radio, then I heard about it.
We are all crying that the fuel is on the high price at the moment, 159. Talking of 170. It is alarming and ridiculous. It is unbelievable. So I don't know where we are heading to, this country.
So what does this spell in the coming days? Market forces determining the price may still have more up their sleeves, while Nigerians are wary of difficult times ahead.
The adverse effects will tell on not just the car owners, but also price of food, too many other things that this increase will affect.
So this is not a time for us to increase the pump price. So if it's coming at this time, then it is ill time. It is something that Nigerians must resist by all means.
But there are more questions if indeed the deregulation of the sector will bring about economic change, if it does not have a direct impact on the citizenry.
To politics, there's been a major shake-up in the Imo State House of Assembly with the Speaker of the Assembly, Chiji Collins, impeached by the lawmakers today. This is coming at the expiration of a 21-day notice of impeachment earlier issued and signed by 19 out of the 27 lawmakers. Our correspondent, Itope Kute, reports.
At about 12 noon, news filtered in that some lawmakers stormed the Assembly complex for an emergency plenary session, even though journalists were barred from covering the session. Few moments later, the news broke that the Speaker, Right Honorable Chiji Collins, had been impeached. Thereafter, the lawmakers moved to the Government House in Owerri to present the new Speaker Paul Emeziem to Governor Hope Uzodinma.
The 20 of us today came up and in a special sitting today decided that the leadership of the House has to be replaced with someone who has very vast experience in legislative matters and has the interest of the APC at heart to protect our party and protect the leadership and the vision, the 3R mantra we have for our great state, Imo State.
For the governor, the legislature as an arm of government can independently take decisions in line with the Constitution, but he wants them to close ranks, show spirit of sportsmanship, and unite in the best interest of the state.
I want to charge members of the House to imbibe the spirit of sportsmanship and service to your colleagues.
The meeting with the governor is over. The impeached speaker, who was also at the meeting, accepts the decision in good faith, while the new speaker promised to ensure that the lawmakers unite to move Imo State forward.
It's the wish of God. Simple.
It's the wish of God.
Simple.
And you are okay? Are you going to go, sir? It's the wish of God. And you have accepted it.
Enough of the questions.
The party will work together, the members in the House will work together effortlessly to make a change, to bring up the party, to help and become a good synergy to the executive, and meet up with the demands of the public.
It's obviously the end of an era and the beginning of another. All eyes are now on the new leadership of the State Assembly, with the hopes that the new speaker will make a difference in the interest of the people of Imo State. Itope Kute, Channels Television News.
And in Kwara State, Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak appears to be following in the footsteps of his Lagos State counterpart, as he has hinted on plans to repeal the law on pension for former governors and their deputies. In a statement, his chief press secretary explains that a bill will be sent to the State House of Assembly to immediately repeal the law awarding the pension packages. According to the government, the decision is in response to the president's opposition to the pension law, although the lawmakers are expected to call a public hearing on the topic and seek wider opinions on the issue. For Governor Abdulrazak, time is ripe for the law, and he would rather the state commit the scarce public funds to tackling poverty and youth unemployment. In the aftermath of the EndSARS protests, 16 EndSARS campaigners have approached a federal high court in Abuja seeking a reversal of the restriction placed on their accounts by the central bank. The Central Bank of Nigeria had frozen the accounts of 20 EndSARS campaigners through an ex parte order obtained from Justice Ahmed Mohammed to back his action. In a supporting affidavit, the CBN had also alleged that the EndSARS campaigners may have received their funding through acts of terrorism and asked the judge to swiftly freeze the accounts. However, 16 of the affected persons on Thursday filed a motion through their lawyer, Mr. Femi Falana, to set aside the order. They contend that the freezing of their bank accounts was an act of illegality, stressing that the CBN governor froze the accounts before approaching the court much later for a freezing order. They also argued that the court order permitting the CBN governor to freeze their accounts for 90 days was a violation of their rights to fair hearing under Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution. Faulting their being labeled as terrorists by the CBN governor, the EndSARS campaigners said the CBN was neither one of the investigating nor prosecuting agencies recognized under the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 and the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Mr. Marshal Abubakar, who deposed to an affidavit filed in support of the suit, said the claimant's accounts were frozen in October by CBN without any justification, as the bank provided no evidence to support its terrorism claim. He adds that all the persons whose accounts were frozen had never been arrested for any crime before, adding that they were only protesters whose right to protest was recently reiterated by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had fixed Saturday, December the 5th to conduct pending by-elections in 11 states across the country. The by-elections will hold in Bayelsa, Borno, Cross River, Imo, Lagos, Plateau, Zamfara, and Kogi states. This follows the resignation or death of some members of the National Assembly in the 8 states. Now, INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman on Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, appealed for the cooperation of the voters and stakeholders in the states as the Commission promised to deliver credible elections under a safe environment. Also, Southwest leaders of the People's Democratic Party have harped on the need for unity and cohesion in the party, stating that the zone remains strategic to the PDP if it must win election at the national level. The leaders, who were hosted by the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde in Ibadan, called on the PDP national leadership to bring all aggrieved factions together to strengthen the unit. After the meeting, the Southwest PDP leaders released a communique in which a 5-man reconciliation committee was appointed. The committee is headed by former Osun State Governor Olagunsoye Oyinlola. The host, Governor Makinde, explains that the meeting was convened to address the challenges facing the party in the Southwest.
I'm hoping that our leaders and elders that are present here will assist us to bring about a unified front for the party in the Southwest. The Southwest must show leadership for the party nationally, and the Southwest must show leadership for the country.
A canoe transporting 23 people to their farms in Bauchi State has capsized, leading to the death of 18 of the passengers, including children. The victims were being ferried from Zango Majia village in Itas Gedao local government area to their farms when the boat capsized and they were drowned right in the middle of the river. The state police authorities say 5 persons, including the canoe operator, were rescued unconscious, while corpses have been recovered and taken to the General Hospital morgue. In part 2, after the break, the federal government begins process to secure $750 million loan from the World Bank to mitigate effects of COVID-19 on states. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television, Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Fresh hardship looms as Nigerians will now have to pay more for petrol, with the commodity now selling between 168 to 170 naira per litre. Tell CBN to unfreeze our accounts. That's the plea by 16 EndSARS protesters at the Federal High Court in Abuja as they allege violation of rights. Plans to cut down on excessive spending continue as Kwara State Governor moves to stop payment of pension to former governors and their deputies in the state. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden's transition team demands daily access to security briefing from President Trump's administration. The Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, has summoned the suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu. Mr. Magu is expected to appear before the Bureau on November 17th with documents of all his landed properties. The CCB, in a letter that was signed by its Director of Intelligence, Investigation and Monitoring, equally directed Mr. Magu to produce acknowledgement slips of all the asset declarations he's made since he joined public service, with all documents certified true copies. Other documents in the suspended acting EFCC boss was ordered to make available to the Bureau include copies of his appointment letter, acceptance, records of service, and pay slips from January to May 2020, and documents pertaining to both his developed and undeveloped landed properties. The CCB summons is coming about 4 months after Mr. Magu was suspended from office over the probe of the activities of the EFCC under his watch. He has been facing the presidential probe panel. And now to our COVID-19 update. As part of efforts to mitigate the effects of the virus, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, says the federal government is in the process of acquiring a $750 million loan from the World Bank for states. This loan, according to her, is to stimulate the local economy and support vulnerable household consumption. She was speaking at the inauguration of the Federal Steering Committee of the Nigerian COVID-19 Action, Recovery and Economic Stimulus Program in the nation's capital. The minister explains that the federal government has created windows of intervention, as captured in the Economic Sustainability Plan inaugurated by President Buhari on March 2020.
As part of the window of opportunity to mitigate the effect of the COVID-19, the federal government is in the process of accessing a World Bank loan of $750 million on behalf of the states of the Federation to stimulate the local economy and support vulnerable household consumption. To ensure that the implementation of the Nigerian CARES program is in line with the federal government priorities as outlined in the Economic Sustainability Plan, the Federal Steering Committee, made up of ministers and permanent secretaries, and a technical committee made up of directors of key MDAs is being put in place. The government has carefully selected these members of the federal and the technical committees because of the important role their MDAs play in the recovery of the Nigerian economy, as well as in the fulfillment of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. The inauguration of the committees today is expedient given the nature of this emergency intervention. Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, and we cannot therefore afford to remain in recession.
To Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has faulted the decision by the federal government to dispense state funds on behalf of the state judiciary, an action he considers a breach of the Constitution. He made the statement during a special court session to mark the opening of the 2020-2021 legal year of the judiciary of Rivers State in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Governor Wike, who says his administration has supported the judicial arm of government with various infrastructure projects and improved welfare, also notes that the independence of the judiciary should not be restricted to just funding, but also be extended to non-interference by other arms of government.
As a government, our investment in the judiciary may not necessarily be enough to resolve all the challenges, but we are doing far more in this regard than what the federal government and the center, relative to available resources and other competing state interests. At any rate, it's only a blind person that could deny the very visible investments we have made and the corresponding strides we have achieved in the judicial subsector of our state. The federal government cannot legitimately claim to be more interested in the progress of state judiciaries than the governors of the respective states, certainly not ours. The decision by the federal government, therefore, to illegally seize and dissipate state funds on behalf of state judiciaries under the purported executive order 10 is not only ill-advised, but also constitutes yet another clear breach of the constitutional powers of the governors to manage state resources in a federal system.
From the judiciary to artificial intelligence and robotics, the federal government has set up a Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics as part of strategies to foster a sustainable digital economy. The center, which offers a platform to advance digital literacy, skill development, and innovation in emerging technologies, also aims to support business innovations and create millions of jobs potentially for the young population.
Artificial intelligence, predominantly employed in modern-day society, is one of the emerging technologies Nigeria is hoping to harness as part of her digital economy project. In a bold move to realizing this, a National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics is established in Abuja. Unsurprisingly, top government officials gathered here are excited about potential opportunities that will emerge from this center.
In 2018, we came up with a policy of establishing an isolated center where citizens will be encouraged to come and partake in critical thinking, come up with crazy ideas that will change the world in the next few years. The center is not aimed at resolving our problems of today, but rather it is a proactive center that we try to predict what we anticipate to happen in the next 2, 3, 5 or 10 years.
Other government officials give a broad analysis of the crucial significance of this launch.
The McKinsey research titled Modeling the Impact of Artificial Intelligence on the World Economy. The report predicted that in the next 10 years, artificial intelligence is going to add about $13 trillion to the global GDP. While developing countries like Nigeria, if they harness this potential well, they can add between 5 to 15% to the GDP in the next 10 years.
But this is the first center I'm visiting that is public sector driven. And this is very crucial because it opens up the space for a wider segment of our community and a wider segment of our society.
In a tour of the facility, the general consensus is that advancing a digital Nigeria would undoubtedly engender robust growth, capable of addressing its challenges across the country.
To Edo State, following his inauguration for a second term as governor of the state, Governor Godwin Obaseki is rolling out his administration's plan aimed at rebuilding the state. A major part of this vision is what he describes as the historic Benin project, through which the administration plans to embark on the renewal of the state's artistic and archaeological infrastructure.
Pride in Edo land and a desire to contribute to making it grow again has brought these guests to the new festival hall of the Government House in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Government officials, royalty, legal experts and professionals across different fields assembled for the 4th Edo Investment Summit, Alawudao 2020.
To move forward and be great again. Thank you. You may please be seated.
Mr. Aswai Udalo chairs the Alawudao committee.
The Edo Summit Alagodaro enables the public sector in Edo State to engage with private sector leaders, civil society, traditional rulers, and the informal sector on the best way forward to make Edo State an economic power and best place to live in the shortest possible time. The summit provides an opportunity to expose the potentialities of our state and the vast resources within to the rest of the world.
The governor of the state, Mr. Godwin Obaseki's speech, dwells on measures that would see the state transformed in the next 4 years.
In the next 4 years, we're going to roll out a world-class public service. And this will be done by utilizing technology. It's happening everywhere in the world. I want to be the last governor in Edo State that will treat only physical files.
The keynote speaker explains how the projects would work.
This incredible heritage, which archaeologists and scientists now know, is the starting point for what the governor was expressing as the reclaiming of our history to then project into the future. And if I can say that the museum, if I can say that the walls and understanding the archaeology in the walls is like the ring, the body of the ring, the museum is the jewel, that is the accent. So it's really about creating a new body for the expression and the understanding of culture in this great state.
A key point highlighted here is that the state has gone beyond talking to doing, a reality it believes would be seen in the next 4 years.
Thank you.
To security, and following recent insecurity situations in many parts of the country, Major General Garba Wahab says the Inspector General of Police seems to have lost a grip on the reality of the security situation in the country. Now, his comments is coming on the heels of rising cases of crime in many parts of Nigeria in the aftermath of the EndSARS protests. He made the comments while featuring as a guest on our breakfast program, Sunrise Daily.
We have lost coordination of what is actually happening. And like I mentioned, the ID is sitting down there with all the paraphernalia of office, but it's been deprived of actually having the control of policemen. He's not in control. Look at, you remember what happened in Rivers between the governor, Amechi, and the commissioner then. So a lot of things had happened, and we peppered those things over. And then the EndSARS and its aftermath had shown that we are living in a dangerous period where people will now jump up one day and do whatever they like. Because right now, no policeman will come out and no citizen will come to assist anybody. And the reason is, if you are injured, you get to a hospital, the first thing the doctor will ask you, even though they said it's been overturned for some time, go and bring a police report. And if the police is not ready to give you a police report, the person that you have taken or yourself will rather die because nobody's going to treat you. So
General,
we've mixed up a lot of things.
To the economy, the federal government, through its Survival Fund scheme, is providing grants to small businesses across the country to cushion the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the latest beneficiaries of the scheme are artisans in Lagos State who received funds to help boost their business.
These artisans are part of the beneficiaries in Lagos State of the federal government Survival Fund scheme aimed at supporting small businesses affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The nationwide program seeks to empower successful applicants to the scheme with 30,000 naira each to boost their trade. Stay or go! This gathering is therefore meant to monitor and evaluate the impact of the scheme and track the successes recorded.
The COVID pandemic has affected a lot of businesses. It has affected a lot of businesses. It has affected a lot of livelihoods. And the government thought in its own wisdom that how can we support different clusters of people. In tracking the success of some of these schemes, we are creatively engaging M&E. That's we are monitoring and we are evaluating all we are doing. If you notice, the artisan and the transport scheme were supposed to be together. But we said for proper monitoring and evaluation and to proper understand what we are doing, that we should do one first. Once we do one, so we're able to learn from the mistakes or the not so good aspects of what we have done, so that we can correct that in the second stream.
For the beneficiaries, it's a timely intervention.
We are called to local government that everybody should meet at that point. So on getting there, we were told we are going to give some fund to assist our business. So I went there to do my own registration. After a couple of weeks, we received an alert of some money, which I use in boosting my business, and it helps me a lot.
I use the money to
to add to my business. The 30,000 that I collected from government, I use it for my business to rise it up.
The Survival Fund Scheme is part of the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, which comprises the payroll support, general MSMEs grant, artisan and transport grant, and the guaranteed offtake scheme.
To company product news, Big Brother Niger housemate Erica Lewedim is now the new face of Legend Extra Stout and Star Radler. Her appointment is coming on the heels of the relaunch of Legend Extra Stout and Star Radler, which is the company's beer mixed with citrus product. The portfolio manager, National Premium Brands, Nigerian Breweries, Sarah Aga, says after 5 years, it was time to tweak Star Radler as well as reintroduce the new look of Legend Extra Stout.
The young and the young at heart converge on this venue in Ikoyi, Lagos. It is an evening of celebration for Nigerian breweries as the company unveils an ambassador for two of its products and also reintroduces Star Radler and Legend Extra Stout with their new look.
Star Radler has been in the Nigerian market for 5 years. And when a brand turns 5, you've got to do something special. You've got to tweak it a bit. We're the only beer mix in this market, and that's something to really be proud of. It's also about Legend Extra Stout.
For the company that describes itself as the nation's largest brewer, constant innovation is one of the keys to success, hence the relaunch.
The brand actually is wearing a totally different identity that is very bold. Of course, we also did some work on the taste, actually. The new Legend Extra Stout, less bitter, let me put it that way.
The Star Citrus and then an exciting new flavor of the Star Red Fruit, which is a combination of strawberry and cranberry juices. The drive and the agenda is to make beer cool again, and we want to excite consumers with innovations from the way it looks so that it's cooler and it's more appealing to younger consumers.
And now it's time to unveil the new looks of Star Radler and its variants, the Legend Extra Stout, and of course, the new double ambassador, a former Big Brother Niger housemate, Erica.
The star is born! The star is
Then a word to customers.
We're all about consumers. It's a consumer-centric company, and Star Radler is one of the exciting brands that we have in our portfolio. I'm hoping that people get to try it and enjoy and love the taste.
According to Nigerian breweries, this relaunch is aimed at ensuring optimum customer satisfaction and increased demand at wholesale, retail and distributor levels.
Now it's time for business news. Here's Teniola Shobowale.
Thanks a lot, Olumide. Welcome to Business News. President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the 2020 Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act into law. In a statement made today on his official Twitter handle, the president says the legislation, which replaces the current BOFIA 1991, is expected to enhance Nigeria's financial system for sustainable growth and development of the country's economy. President Buhari also mentions that the enactment of the amended act is a historic and significant achievement, which indicates effective and productive collaboration between the executive and legislature arms of the government. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it will engage with stakeholders across various sectors of the economy on critical aspects of the BOFIA 2020 in the coming months. Leading Pan-African banking group EcoBank has been named the best retail bank in Nigeria at the Middle East and Africa Regional 2020 Awards. According to the managing director of the bank, the award is a worthy acknowledgement of EcoBank's digital transformation initiative targeted at providing tailored solutions to its customers.
For one of Africa's leading financial institutions, EcoBank, banking operations goes beyond providing regular banking services to customers. Rather, It should be about offering tailored services through the use of digital solutions to enhance customer experience. Recently, the bank deployed digital solutions to enhance customer services, particularly during the heat of the coronavirus lockdown. That action has now earned the bank an award of being the best retail bank in Nigeria in 2020 by Asian bankers. This feat is obviously spurring the bank's management to set new targets and standards for improved operations.
In whatever industry, the agri industry, education industry, health industry, the creative industry, whichever area that you choose to actualize your potential, this award reminds us to do even much more to continue to earn your trust, to be the preferred bank across Nigeria and across Africa, because EcoBank is a Pan-African bank, at the forefront of realizing the potential of every Nigerian, every African.
In line with the Central Bank of Nigeria's effort at promoting greater financial inclusion, EcoBank is assuring of even more access to basic financial services.
Our digital channels enable you bank from the comfort of your home 24/7 without visiting the bank. We believe that every African should have access to basic financial services, irrespective of their social or economic status. And it is indeed encouraging that our efforts are being acknowledged and recognized.
For the Pan-African Bank, the award of the best retail bank in Nigeria will help the bank meet up with the evolving aspirations of its customers as EcoBank seeks to be a solution to all banking needs.
It's a reversal of fortune for the domestic stock market as investors switch to profit-taking mode in today's trading session after 4 days of strong rally at the NSE this week. Chimeze Obiwagu tells if the bears have returned to the market.
Thanks, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The bear may have reared its head today, but I tell you, it won't be long before it goes back into hibernation. I say so because even though there was huge profit taking, the market also recorded heavy bargain hunting by those who believe there is still much value inherent in the equities. Don't forget, the low yield environment in the fixed income market remains a disincentive for investors there. Expectation of higher dividend payout by year end is also driving interest towards equities. This red arrow here on the index was highly anticipated, particularly after yesterday's rally that forced the stock exchange to trigger the circuit breaker after the index surpassed the 5% threshold. Traders will tell you, but for Airtel Africa, the index would have fallen more than what we have today. We saw profit taken more on the banking counter, with GT Bank alone losing almost 5%. MTN Nigeria also helped to drag the index down. Check out the level of activity recorded today. Over 1 billion shares traded. That's quite huge for a day. And the market raked in a little above 16 billion naira. So far, the week has been a rewarding one for investors in this market. The week-to-date close of the index is 14.7%. That's a market on steroid. The truth is that this market remains a safe haven for investors in the fixed income market for now, and only the strong-hearted risk takers play in it. Next week looks good, but we may not see the level of gains recorded this week, at least not at the beginning of the week. We can only hope for the best. For now, thank God it's Friday. And that was the Stock Market Report. I'm Chimeze Obiwagu.
And that's business news tonight. It's back to you, Olumide, for the rest of the news at 10.
It's been a day of renewed pain, anger, and sorrow as family and friends gather to see, for the last time before her interment, the remains of Awaila Mozua, the 100-level microbiology student of the University of Benin, who was raped and brutally wounded in a church in Benin City, the Edo State capital, on the 27th of May and died a few days later. while as siblings, friends and sympathizers took the corpse from the mortuary to the University of Benin Teaching Hospital to the church where a funeral service was held for her. The final journey was to the cemetery where the body was laid to rest. Her siblings again called for justice to be served. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden's transition team says the Trump administration's denial of access to classified security briefings could affect Mr. Biden's ability to govern. Mr. Biden's advisors say he needs real-time information to deal with the multiple crises facing the country. President Donald Trump is yet to concede to the projected winner of the November 3rd election, alleging fraud. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news on Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US election officials have said the 2020 White House vote was the most secure in American history, rejecting President Donald Trump's fraud claims.
We did win this election.
They spoke out after Mr. Trump claimed without proof that 2.7 million votes for him had been deleted, and he has yet to concede to the president-elect, the Democrat Joe Biden. Mr. Biden is now projected to have won Arizona, extending his lead by 11 electoral college votes to a total of 290 with Mr. Trump on 217. It is the first time the state has voted Democrat since 1996. Ethiopia's Prime Minister has accused forces in the northern Tigray region of carrying out a massacre of civilians. Abiy Ahmed said Ethiopian federal troops had liberated the western part of Tigray in a victory for the innocent civilians of Maikadra that were brutally massacred. In a separate statement, Mr. Abiy also said bodies of members of the army who were shot while their hands and legs were tied had been found. Tigrayan officials deny the atrocities, but witnesses reported by human rights group Amnesty International blamed forces loyal to the Tigray People's Liberation Front for the killings. A top official in South Africa's governing African National Congress has been granted bail in a graft case that has highlighted divisions within the party.
I haven't done anything wrong.
Ace Magashule, Secretary General and one of the most powerful officials of the ANC, faces allegations related to a contract to audit houses with asbestos roofs awarded while he was Premier of the Free State Province. The charges have put him on a collision course with President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has pledged to clean up the ANC's image with a tough stance on corruption. Outside the court, thousands of supporters denounced the trial as a witch hunt, chanting, dancing and waving banners. Mr. Magashule is the most high-profile politician to be tried since former President Jacob Zuma, whose corruption trial resumes in December. Police and protesters have clashed for the third day in the streets of the Peruvian capital Lima amid a wave of demonstrations after the ousting of former leader Martin Vizcarra. Crowds have gathered in the streets for days to protest the Congress vote, with dozens of demonstrators detained after clashes with police. Violent scuffles broke out between police in riot gear and protesters who traded blows. The Organization of American States expressed concern over what they called the new political crisis in Peru. Mr. Vizcarra described the protests as a reflection of people's dissatisfaction with the situation, while the interim president, Manuel Merino, urged Peruvians to maintain calm and responsibility. Myanmar's ruling party, the National League for Democracy of 1991 Nobel Peace Prize Aung San Suu Kyi, has secured enough seats in parliament to form the next government. The party has announced that it would be inviting ethnic minority parties to work with it, an offer it did not make when it won the last election in 2015. This year's election has been seen as a gauge of support for the NLD and Ms Suu Kyi following the Rohingya crisis. The NLD remains popular at home but has been heavily criticised worldwide after Ms Suu Kyi's response to the crisis. In the Philippines, residents in the capital Manila have started to return to their homes after Typhoon Vamco, which killed at least 39 people and left dozens missing. Vamco is the 21st and most deadly cyclone to hit the country this year. Around 500,000 households in and around the capital were without power, and virtual classes and government work was suspended in the island of Luzon, home to half of the Philippines' 108 million population. A cloud of smog has once again enveloped the Indian capital New Delhi as air quality has deteriorated to one of the worst days of the year. With smog reducing visibility, people travelled in vehicles with their headlights on because the haze on the road, while residents out for morning walks said they were experiencing breathing issues. The air quality index in the city stood at 318 on a scale of 500, indicating hazardous air quality. Pollution in the Indian capital had almost disappeared earlier this year when the government imposed a nationwide lockdown, but has returned to unsafe levels since the government began lifting restrictions at the end of August. And finally, Turkmenistan's president has bestowed his favourite dog breed with the highest honour, a giant golden statue. President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov unveiled the 6-metre-tall statue of the Alabi dog in the capital Ashgabat. The Alabi is a home-bred Turkmen variety of the Central Asian Shepherd dog and is listed under the country's national heritage. It isn't the first time the breed has been honoured by the president. Last year, he devoted a book to the Alabi. The statue also features an LED screen with video footage of the breed in various situations. And that's your international news around the world in 5. And now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. In sports, lowly ranked Sierra Leone, that's Lone Stars of Sierra Leone, this evening did the unthinkable when they came from 4 goals down to force the Super Eagles of Nigeria to a 4-4 draw in that AFCON qualifier played at the Samuel Ogbemodia Stadium in Benin City. The Eagles took the lead as early as the 4th minute, with Everton's Alex Iwobi getting the opener. And Napoli's Victor Osimhen then made it 2 on the 21st minute. Iwobi increased the tally to 3, and then Samuel Chukwueze added to the score sheet. With 2 minutes left in the first half, Sierra Leone pulled a goal back, and the Sierra Leoneans totally dominated the second half and went on to level scores at 4-4. Following the draw, the Eagles still topped their group on 7 points, while Sierra Leone have 2 points. The Egyptian FA has confirmed that Mo Salah has tested positive for COVID-19. The Egyptian FA explained via their Twitter handle that Salah had returned a positive test, although the 28-year-old is not showing any symptoms. The governing body added the rest of the Egypt team were negative for coronavirus. Sergio Ramos is set to become the most capped European footballer of all time when Spain visits Switzerland in the UEFA Nations League. The Spain skipper, who last year became his country's all-time appearance maker, is in line for a 177th match on Saturday, which will take him ahead of former Italy goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon as the continent's most capped player. And that's sports news. I'm Ayo Tunde. Balo goes back to you, Limited.
Thank you, Ayo. And the main news again, the Pipeline and Product Marketing Company, a subsidiary of the NNPC, today announced a new pump price of petrol, which will now sell between 168 to 170 naira per litre. Nigerians have been reacting to the decision as they believe more hardship may be looming. Also today, 16 EndSARS protesters asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to order the CBN to unfreeze their accounts, the alleged violation of their rights to fair hearing. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Olumide Macaulay. You have a good night.